Good afternoon. It's issue 62 of ICB TV, Wednesday, the 22nd of July. Don't know what it's like round by you, but here, a bit of a grey day, but nonetheless, we hope the conversation today will be anything other than grey. I'm sure it won't be. A slight change of plan. We did have, we've got Satago with us. We did have Sinead McHale. Unfortunately, she's been called away on something of an urgent matter. So by no means a lesser guest today. We have with us Rob Mills, who's the Chief Operating Officer from Satago. So hello, Rob.
Hi there. Thank you for welcoming us and myself today.
Well,
apologies for Sinead not making it.
No, that's okay. And just to explain to everybody that normally Sobi is looking at me as soon as I switch on and sign into this, and today it was Alex. So I've been expecting two ladies to be speaking to today, and I've got men on both occasions. So, but they will nonetheless fill the hour that we have, no doubt, with great conversation. First of all, Rob, tell us a bit about you and how you got to Satago. Then we'll talk a little bit more about what Satago is actually all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I did train in the dark arts of accountancy, I'm afraid, but very much with a focus on understanding small businesses and the such of what they're needed for. So trained up with KPMG, and that is my background. I do have debits and credits in my blood, and view the world from an accountancy point of view. And I guess what that means is that I recognise not everyone's a business expert, and that's really where bookkeepers and it can come into play in terms of that trusted advisor point of view. So that was my training. I did a small detour into the world of big corporate with BP, where I kind of looked at performance management and saw actually what does it mean to advise at the very largest scale. But my passion is for small businesses at the end of the day, and the opportunity came around to join Satago, and here I am 5 years later. So I've worn a number of hats, and during that time I originally joined to lead essentially the finance function within Satago, and I say I've worn a number of hats since then, but now look after the operations and the general day-to-day running of the platform. But very keen to kind of show what Satago can do and really explain how we can support your bookkeeper base.
Great. Yeah, we've got a big base of bookkeepers, and they're always open for new ideas. They're not always the quickest to jump, but we find that extra time of thinking does mean they make the right decisions. So no pressure. We've had a wide range of people talking to us over the last 62 issues of this magazine. We've had Caroline Plum from Fluidly talking about the need for cash flow. And then we've also had Richard Sims from FA Sims telling us that when it really goes wrong, what you want is an insolvency practitioner. So, you seem to come somewhere in between all of that. You know the importance of everything, but you seem to have a lot of solutions in waiting. So tell us a bit more about what it exactly is that Satago does.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in this space for a while now. We've been supporting, and I say a while, 2013, which in fintech years is pretty much veteran status, I guess. The original product came about helping to automate the credit control aspect of what SME owners have to put up with, and how bookkeepers can support them for that. And so that was always the original purpose, in terms of trying to tackle the age-old problem of late payments, both from a cash flow point of view, but also just from an admin point of view. So many days and hours are lost in terms of doing manual credit control. And so the original kind of purpose of Satago, the original introduction of Satago, was very much trying to help alleviate some of the pain points that you get from having to do manual credit control, and just trying to bring some kind of automation and really, trying to take advantage of technological benefits that are coming into play recently. The second product, and this is where we start to differ from I'm not going to call it competition, but from other kind of solutions out there, is that it's not just overdue payments that can kill a small business, but actually it's the risk of bad debts and not necessarily understanding who you're doing business with can equally kill a small business. And one bad debt and that's the business gone from an otherwise profitable young business. And again, most small business owners, they're not business experts, they're not finance experts, and they don't necessarily ordinarily know how to set terms, credit terms in the right way, or what kind of credit limits they should have in mind. It's not something that goes as part of their thinking, and they just want to get the sale in, and may potentially overexpose themselves for that. And what Satago is aiming to do is actually simplify that in a way that actually it's really easy for them to keep on top of that, or really understand what their the kind of exposure is, or where they may be overexposed. And the final product that we kind of built on top of those two was, we know who our clients are, we know who their customers are, and we know the strength of their underlying trading receivables, etc. So we do offer essentially an invoice finance facility that supports that. And I appreciate invoice finance doesn't always have the best reputation, but we aim to do it in a very transparent fashion, which is very much pay-as-you-go solution that's really, again, designed for the SME owner in mind. That's very easy to understand and flexible, and operates in a pay-as-you-go fashion. So if you come to a quarter end and you're a little bit shy on being able to pay your VAT bill, or if you're a little bit low on not being able to make month-end payroll, then Satago can step in to help on a flexible basis with any funding shortfalls. So that's the three kind of core products that come into play that we had for that. And essentially that's always been the focus, I suppose. Historically, it's about helping small business owners in particular with managing their overall cash flow. Now, the focus has changed a little bit maybe in the last year or two, in terms of, yes, obviously we'll help small business owners, but actually, bookkeepers have a real kind of unique opportunity to help their kind of SME base. And so we've really tried to broaden out our software solution by creating a specific practice edition designed at helping bookkeepers help their clients in a number of ways. One, really broadening or extending the core Satago functionality to their client base in a really easy to use fashion. But secondly, also adding nice kind of additional functionality for their own access and abilities to really support them in not bookkeeping and day-to-day debits and credits. That's not what bookkeepers need support on necessarily, but it's about helping them grow their practice, develop, offer additional functionality and value add that they can include on their service offering, and also helping their client base reduce their time, and offering what they can do in terms of admin and cash flow improvement.
So is it a standalone app? Does it draw information out of your main software package, or what? How does it physically work?
Yeah, so it's a cloud-based application, and the idea is that you sign up for Satago, and then essentially it will be driven primarily from your accounting package, but it will also capture other additional sources, so things like company's house information, and also from the credit bureaus. It will bring in all this information and do that kind of admin analysis on an ongoing basis. That means that as a bookkeeper, you don't have to do that yourself. It's really easy. That just sign up, connect to Satago, connect your clients to Satago, and the system effectively looks after itself, is the idea. And so we, in terms of connections, we connect with pretty much all the major client accounting systems out there. So whether it's Sage, Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent, FreshBooks, we've got all of that. But we're also quite strong partners with Sage, and have our own Sage 50 connector that we've established and built ourselves. So we're also able to support what I call desktop-based.
Hi, you disappeared there for a minute. I think you've frozen as well. But you okay?
Apologies for that. Yeah, so no,
that's okay. Okay, so you obviously link into all the software packages, and actually in apps nowadays that does seem to be unusual, because most of them say, well, we're with so and so at the moment, but we're going to be with somebody else in the next near future or something like that. So this is obviously a completely agnostic package, which is good.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, what solutions work for bookkeepers, what solutions work for their clients. The reality is, how can we support them? And that's the main challenge we're looking to address. And that challenge isn't linked to any package in particular. It is a problem that's systemic across our entire industry. And the reality is, how do we help solve those problems? So absolutely, we support all and any, and we'll continue to support as many as we can.
Yeah, because I think what we find with our bookkeepers, some of them have a pet software that they like to use, but they go to a client who says, I don't care what you want to use. If you want this job, you'll use this because I've had it for years and it's sitting over there in the corner. That's what bookkeepers do. They have to be a little bit less choosy, I suppose. And there are some bookkeepers and indeed accountants nowadays who say, well, it's my way or no way. But actually, that's not helping small businesses in most cases. So we do try and move it around a little bit, make sure we're getting it right. So from what I'm reading into what you've just been saying, when we get a new client coming on board, your package will say to us, "Oh, this is a high risk." So is that using one of the big credit reference agencies or something?
It is. So we partner with the credit reference agencies, and we also have kind of internal data analysis too. And really that data is effectively embedded into the Satago platform. So the idea is if you're a bookkeeper and you've got a number of clients, it will immediately allow you to essentially risk assess your client base. But beyond that, it will also allow you to look at your clients' customers and say, actually, I can see where they're potentially overexposed. And that really helps drive those value add conversations that you can have with your customers to say, you know what, I can see you're trading with X and Y. Maybe let's just understand if we've got a potential issue there, maybe think about reining that in, changing the terms, or thinking about changing slightly different credit limits, etc. And really, it's all about just making sure that your clients don't end up in a situation, and especially important during the recent pandemic, that making sure that people have an understanding of who they're doing business with, and so they don't have any surprises where all of a sudden bills stop getting paid and they've got a cash flow issue.
Right. So we go to see a new client, we've got them on Satago, we log them in, etc. They presumably then know that we've done a credit check.
So the credit level for companies. So we don't do individual people personal credit checks. So we look at the company level, and for most people that gives them that level of insight that they need to. We do also have kind of non-limited companies as part of our database though. So for example, if you're working with charities or schools or other kind of other such kind of issues, or even councils, you get an idea of actually how good is the council at paying its bills.
Right. So you want anybody using your product really to start thinking from day one, what is my exposure to this particular client? Is this going to take a lot of my time, and then I'm going to struggle to get paid for it? Which is a good thing to have in mind, isn't it?
It is, and we're trying to do that in a way that's not really onerous. The reality is, everyone should have a better understanding, or at least a starting understanding of who they're doing business with. Because the reality is, they may have a flash website, or they may have fancy cars and such like that. But the reality is, are you going to get paid? Is the reality of it, and are they going to be a good trading relationship for you to be working with? And that's what the Satago platform can do, and kind of an immediate basis, but also on an ongoing basis. The reality is, it's doing a one-off credit check on a customer is one thing, but you need to keep an eye on them because things can change quickly. And as I say, during the current pandemic, things will change quickly if they've not already. And so that ongoing monitoring is almost just as important as that initial, is this somebody that I want to work with?
Yeah, I mean, I think bookkeepers have the advantage that most of them deal with their clients on a more regular basis than perhaps say an accountant that will do this. They'll handle the compliance at the end of the year or something like that. So
exactly,
certainly they've got that. But
where the benefit comes,
isn't it?
Apologies, what was that saying?
It's an attitude. I think you've got to say to yourself, I know I'm a really bend over backwards, do whatever I can for you type bookkeeper, but actually we're in business. You're in business as a client, and I'm in business as a bookkeeper. So let's keep it on a more professional business relationship when it comes to deciding whether or not we're the right fit for each other. And as you alluded to in your opening words there, but sometimes it's very easy to think, yeah, I've got one. Yeah, great, that's it. And you don't look deep enough into whether or not it's going to work for you. It's surprising how many businesses struggle on with clients that they hate, and the clients don't like them very much, but they're almost determined not to let them go. You know, it's difficult.
Yeah. And I think bookkeepers in particular have such unique insight because they're so close to the books, and really it's this is where the value add can come into it. It's not just about, you know, you as a bookkeeper, how can you look at your own client base? It goes far beyond that. It's actually you as a bookkeeper. Yes, you've got your own client base, but actually, how can you help your clients not run into issues themselves? Because, you know, if you've got a client who's dealing with lots of high risk customers, do they know that? I don't know, but you can be the person who can actually tell them that and really add an awful lot of additional value to what you're offering to your client base. So it's not a case of just, you know, doing the day-to-day bookkeeping and such. It's actually saying, you know, yes, you've got these debtors and these creditors out there, but actually, you as my client, I'm letting you know that you might have potential exposure there, and that is where you go from just doing basic bookkeeping and I think to actually being a real trusted business advisor. And that's, you know, what I think, you know, bookkeepers are increasingly you know, seen as, and or at least that's our view on the role of the bookkeeper these days.
So how does the relationship work? I mean, I see obviously our bookkeepers have got their own business, so they can have a relationship with Satago, and they might need themselves a bit of cash flow to keep something running or something like that. How does the relationship then work when it comes to the client? That's based on the books that you're doing, and you can actually say to them, what, because I'm part of Satago, or I need to link you into Satago? Just give me the practical working.
Exactly. So as a bookkeeper, you'd sign up with effectively our practice edition, and what that grants you is basically an unlimited reseller license where you can offer Satago for as many of your customers as you wish, or as many of your clients as you wish, for no charge. Or we won't charge you. You can charge your clients for any services you provide, but we won't charge you as the bookkeeper. You can have as many on the platform as you wish, and so what that allows you to do is say, okay, for each client, I can offer additional services in terms of I can provide this credit control solution and help you get paid faster that way. And, you know, a lot of bookkeepers that we have on our systems currently just do that as a credit control solution. But also what it allows you to do is if you then connect in your client's underlying accounting packages, it will automatically risk analyze and monitor that going forward. So you can suddenly see, okay, I can see overexposures there. I can see any potential bad debts and risks there, or I can see where I can help with credit control. And normally it's really kind of eye-opening for people who think they're, you know, they may think that actually they've got a very good quality data book, but actually the first time that people load either their own book onto Satago or their clients' books onto Satago, it can be really eye-opening and suddenly highlighting, actually, this is where we need to focus on. So rather than focusing credit control on the long overdues, it's actually saying, let's be properly proactive and really understanding and drilling down into what we know. And of course, we'll notify the bookkeepers and your bookkeepers, you know, if there's any changes that they need to be mindful of. So if all of a sudden there's one of your client's customers has had a CCJ registered against them, their credit score has significantly declined, that's the kind of thing that's useful to know on an ongoing basis, because then your client, you know, your bookkeepers can reach out to their clients and say, you know what, do you know about this? And should let's just work this through to see if we've got any potential issues that might affect us.
So do you do the documentation around credit control as well? Is that linked into your system? Because everybody seems to be doing everything at the moment.
So the way the credit control works is that basically we've got a series of templates, and those templates are extremely customizable. So the idea is you have the nice soft and friendly templates that get sent out before, you know, 7 days before an invoice is due. The nice soft and friendly email gets sent out. You know, a month or so later, you might start, you know, changing the text to make it a little bit more aggressive. If you want to mention a baseball bat, feel free to do so. But, you know, it's very much, you can customize it to whatever extent that you wish to do so. And it's completely flexible. So it's you know, designed to work around how you know, you work as a bookkeeper, but also your client style. And the nice thing about it is, you know, it's kind of collaborative in the way the system works. So any reminders that are sent from the Satago platform will capture any replies, and that means that if you as the bookkeeper are doing credit control, or if the client themselves is doing credit control, you've got all the notes in one place. So it's very easy to look back and say, okay, I understand what's happened on that invoice or that particular client. and what additional support or next steps is needed. So very much designed in terms of a collaborative system, and one that works and just basically automates. Because as I say, the idea is, a lot of time is lost from an admin point of view. This is a case of let's switch it on, let's set it up, switch it on, and then I can almost forget about it. And my clients will love me because all of a sudden cash is coming in a lot faster than it used to.
Yeah. Years ago, I used to work for a newspaper called the Shropshire Star, which was in Telford in Shropshire. And we had one of our advertisers that bought an old hearse, and he had debt collector sign painted on the side in huge letters. And he said, whenever he parked on anybody's front lawn or something or other, they immediately sort of paid to get rid of him. But I remember our managing director coming down one day and saying, will you tell him not to call at the Shropshire Star again to pay his advertising bill, because they all think he's chasing debt from the Shropshire Star, which he wasn't. But anyway, so there are various ways of collecting debt, and it just seems to take up a lot of time. It's when you're starting a business, you have this idea in your head of how much fun it's going to be, and you never think about doing the books. And we say on this program so many times, the only people going into business to look after books are bookkeepers, and look after accounts or accountants. That's it. Nobody else does. And people forget the added little bit of ringing up to chase bills, not getting paid exactly on time. So the number of people who, when they start off their bookkeeping business, think, oh, well, I've got to allow for money not to come in for 30 days. Actually, that's only when it works well. Normally, it's 45 or 60. So that's where you start your cash flow from. And, this is what you've got to think of, really. So this idea that you can have invoice factoring, you presumably, therefore, pre-work their availability to use this facility in advance, so they don't just turn up needing something on a Friday night and you say, yep, that's okay, or leave it with me for a week. I mean, how does that work? How does that fit into your process?
Yeah, again, it keeps coming back to that ethos of how do we get something that's really easy for the average person to understand, because traditionally invoice finance has been really, really quite a difficult, maybe not a difficult concept, but it's been hindered by a lot of opaqueness in terms of fee structure and inflexible contracts and all that kind of stuff. And we very much designed it of what, people just want money when they need it, and how best can we support them with that? And again, because we've got so much data in terms of the invoice history already from the accounting systems, we can really shortcut an awful lot of that traditional process. So we have what we call the risk engine on our side that will basically pre-qualify every single invoice based on a large number of metrics that we have. And that's not to sound scary. What that basically means is that we can just really make the process a lot quicker and faster. So, if somebody comes to us, we can get money, in a day or two, versus, for a traditional IF facility, you can be looking at 4 to 6 weeks in many cases. And it's really about how can we get a solution in place that's easy to work with and can be set up quickly and painlessly. So, we have a digital onboarding system. We don't have paperwork flying through the post. We try to do things like, identity checks. We do that all, digitally. Again, it's just a really quick and easy process designed to be something that the average SME owner or bookkeeper can support them with.
Great. And digital accounts and cloud obviously helps everybody. You can get hold of this stuff immediately. And obviously the big thing about bookkeepers is when they send you a set of figures, they know that it's right, rather than
exactly.
We ring up an accountant who we see twice a year normally and say, look, I need a bit of money. What do you think? Here are my accounts. They may not realise what else he's missed with the accounts, whereas bookkeepers normally will know absolutely everything, which must be a help.
We love working with bookkeepers just for the simple reason that they know. I'm not going to say they're stuck in the weeds of it, but they know what's going on. They know the truth of the numbers, and they know. They can answer the questions, they understand the positions, and they understand, and the numbers are right. And as you say, you don't always get that. Certainly when an SME is looking after their own accounting package, and then certainly, when accountants maybe at best offer a monthly service, the reality is having that level of frequency and that updating, just you get so much more comfort out of it, because you can put faith in what the position is.
Obviously, you rely a great deal on AI and blockchain and everything that's coming out, and you're going to get more and more information through these algorithms. I was on a panel recently for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on AI and on blockchain, etc. And they tend to be sponsored by the companies that are behind all of this sort of stuff. But actually then slowly coming through, there are a group of people who are saying, well, look, hold on a minute, this isn't working right because, and they were actually, funnily enough, talking about credit control and just saying that we've seen some big companies recently go down. There's a very big one in, I forgot what it's called, some card over in Germany at the moment, that just happened not to have the £1 billion in the bank that they told the auditors they had. Now, yes, if we rely purely on a non-human set of figures, do you see a point where this is going to become a problem, where you really are only looking at the figures you've been given, not necessarily the actual figures?
Yeah, I think, well, speaking from a personal point of view, as I say, I am I hate to use the word again, but I am an accountant at heart, and I do look at it from that level. At the end of the day, you have to recognise the human element in addition to just what the core numbers are, and there's an awful lot we can learn from computers and simplifying things, and we try to leverage that. I mean, that is what Satago is trying to do, taking technology advances and making life easier for small business owners. But the reality is we recognise where sometimes computers can fall short, not necessarily because they have the wrong interpretation, but because maybe the data's not quite ready yet. And that is rapidly changing as more and more data fields become available. But I guess we recognise where the current deficiencies are and actually where the current advances are. And so what we can do with computers, we're absolutely for it, and we'll promote and work and develop and research for supporting that. But we do have an eye on actually where do we need to compensate for that, i.e. what is reflective of the real world to what you do. And so things like, we're not going to tell you a load of insights that might be wrong because we're not 100% sure. We want to be clear on what we tell people in terms of the actionable insights that they can deal with, that we can understand and stand behind, really, as opposed to saying, we don't really understand why the computer said this, but this is what the computer said, on you go. That's not what we're about. So at the end of the day, we need to be able to understand it ourselves. And the system is designed to provide that level of insight, ones that we can stand behind, but is also easy and clear for everyone else to understand also.
Yeah. I just had a question in here from John P., who comes from Welshpool. Obviously just over, well, those of you who don't know, it's just over the border into Wales from Shropshire. And he says he remembers the debt collector car. I'm hoping it wasn't a personal intervention, but he was saying that at one stage, before he became a bookkeeper, he was running a small business, and he felt sometimes like picking up the phone and saying, "Hello, debts are us," because he said most of his time as the proprietor of the business was spent chasing money. Until it comes in, you can't spend it, and various other things. But his question is, who do you have a bank or something behind you that's providing this money, or is it Satago money?
So we lend off our own balance sheet, and whilst we do have one or two external funders who support us with that, we're not a peer-to-peer lender in the way that some of our peers are, i.e. we don't have people who can pull the plug at any point in time in that sense and want all the money back. So we do have our own facilities, and we do lend off our own balance sheet. And the reality is that we are careful, and we understand what we need to look for in that sense.
Great. I mean, obviously, one of our big supporters here as ICB is Free Agent, and they've got somebody called RBS behind them. I'm not quite sure who they are. Apparently
I've not heard of those, but they must be using them, I'm afraid.
Yeah. And you mentioned, obviously, you can work with those. I mean, how do you see this, if I can call it, this boxing ring petering out here? Because you all seem as organisations to be trying to do the same job, and I know it gives everybody a huge amount of choice, but are we going to end up with the survival of the fittest, do you think, or do you think it'll always be there just to help with choice?
You know what, I think choice will come into it, but I think the danger that you have with there's a lot of apps that specialize in a number of areas, and we're not necessarily saying we're going to solve for that. What we're trying to solve is for cash flow as a whole. What does the absolute minimum that you need to run your business, and give you that starting point, which is why we've got all these traditional apps that you could say, and we've collated into one solution that is designed to be just easy for you to manage as a bookkeeper, but easy for your clients to understand also. So that's kind of our take on it, and we'll carry on with that ethos. How do we add functionality and support small business owners and bookkeepers in making sure that they can frankly focus on their own businesses and not have to worry so much about the day-to-day admin burden that's associated with some of the pain points that we have. As to how this space is going to play out, I don't know. I think it's a really interesting one, and I always think back. The pace at which the industry is progressing is really quite impressive. When I think back, I always used to joke that this was our profession was pretty much the only industry that kept dot matrix printers in play for. It is always the way I used to look at it, because you never saw them anywhere else. But I think that's very very quickly changing. Certainly, cloud accounting is one thing, but there's also whether it's regulatory pressures and things like open banking or MTD or anything like that. The reality is there is a movement to being a more cloud-based system solutions out there, and I think clients are almost more and more expecting potentially that level of interaction. Than the fact that the actual the accounting packages themselves are actually really good these days. And I remember when I was training with my thing, double entry, it is harder, but actually, the new solutions and packages are great, A, for day-to-day bookkeeping, but also for starting to bring out insights and sharing that information. So I think there's going to be a lot more data coming into play over the next few years, for multitude of reasons. And we very much will focus and carry on being at the forefront of that. And as I say, we have a pipeline of really exciting new technology that is very much, as I say, focused on how can we help bookkeepers manage their clients and small business owners.
I've got Carol Gibson on. Hi, Carol. Are there any industry sectors you prefer not to deal with? And she says, I'm thinking about the construction industry on the invoice discounting facility.
Yeah. We look. I mean, we tend to look at, especially construction. Yes, we tend to look at it on a case by case with a little bit more scrutiny, just because, not because of the industry itself, just because the reality of some of the debts you're dealing with, they tend to be more complex, associated with contracts that need a little bit more work associated with them, high risk of disputes and stage payments and such. And look, we try to be really flexible with what we do and what we support with. And I suppose I'm not going to say we don't work with any particular industry, but where the Satago platform really comes into play, I think, is with the smaller end of the market, the micros and the S end of the SME market, where actually they don't really have that much choice in the market. And the reality is, a lot of the traditional players, they shy away from offering IF level facilities because it's just not cost effective for them to do so. Whereas because we have this technology led solution that takes a lot, improves the cost efficiency of offering a facility, it allows us to really reach out and support the smaller end of the market. And we're really passionate about it. And I'm not going to say that's our bread and butter, but it absolutely is one of the areas where we want to focus and support and carry on focusing and supporting. So rather than giving you an industry we don't do, I'll give you a sector or a size base that actually we want to help more than anything else.
That's actually brilliant. I hadn't realised you went to the smaller businesses as well, which is great to hear, because as you say, most organisations ignore that. They take the cream off the top, and everybody else is left to flounder. So that's really good.
It's not just the majority of the market; it's the vast majority of the market. And the reality is, it's always been said, but the smaller end of the market is underserved by banks, and there's lots of reasons for it. And whatever those reasons are, the advantage of using a technology solution like Satago is that we can do something to help support that. And as I say, we're really quite passionate about that. And especially as there's increasing, historically banks, if you get any facility at all, they'll likely just throw an overdraft position at you. and you know that there's increasing pressures on overdrafts now, and obviously you know the cost is going up as a result of that. And you know it's not that the choice is getting better. The choice is probably getting worse for smaller SMEs. And as I say, we really kind of feel passionately about how can we help and support the small end of the market, which is usually turned away for one reason or another.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I mean, I've been involved in a lot of work on getting paid, but also in getting finance for small business. You know, it's not an area that a lot of people will cover, and people have tried to do this. And it's interesting that quite often the problem is in the person trying to get the loan. You know, they don't need a loan, then all of a sudden they do. And they've not done the job properly leading up to that. And I'm not suggesting that's why they need the money, but they don't have a proper set of accounts. They don't have an external advisor who can give an independent view. So they turn up with the bank manager with everything written down on what I call the back of an envelope. And, you know, it's a bit like giving some sort of fairy tale. Oh, yeah, well, next month's got to be better. Okay, why? You know, oh, well, my cash flow will improve next month. Yeah, great. Why? What, are you going on holiday next week? Oh, next month. Oh, well, I'm on your way for 2 weeks. Okay, so, and it's those basic questions which I think a lot of small businesses almost feeling insulted that you're not treating them like not treating them as if you're a money machine of some sort. And it is difficult. And I think it's one of the things that we try to say as an institute, get accused of bias, obviously, but actually, if you're running a small business, don't bother doing your books, because that's not what you're there for. Go out and earn money. Go out and sell something. Go out and make something. Just give somebody else a bookkeeper. Give them your books. Let them look after it. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg normally. And, you know, if you're saving that extra, you're not really saving money if it's taking up half your week to sort it all out. And this is what we find. So we get a lot of referrals from the banks, you know, who say, well, I'm not lending you anything. Go and get me a decent. I don't understand that. Go away and get me something that I can understand, you know. But yeah, you must hear about this all the time, I think.
Well, I mean, as I say, it's you know, at the start when I first introduced Satago, it's absolutely the main reason that we're in business. Quite frankly, you know, the simple reality is small business owners, they're not finance experts, they're not business people necessarily. And okay, you may get one or two who are, but by and large, what they're good at is they have passion for their product and they're good at selling it, and that's what they want to do, and that's how they're going to thrive. And the reality is, how can we support either them or their bookkeepers in getting rid of the admin burden that really drags and takes them away from that, whether it's chasing up debts and payments, or whether actually it's just highlighting how can you improve that cash flow, where have you got potential issues that are going to come into play, and what can you do as a starting point for just getting on top of your cash flow. And as I say, that's everything that we look to. That's our entire pipeline, is trying to solve those issues and help bookkeepers solve those issues in a really easy fashion also.
Lee Davis has just emailed in, and just to explain, Rob, we get all sorts of questions. We get some on this where people have come through through the database, through my ICB online, and they get this. We get a lot more on Facebook, and we get a completely different set of questions from there. And also people send us stuff on email, normally because they're not listening to it, but they're going to listen to it later, and as they ask a question, you give them the answer later. So I've just had Lee Davis on, and so I'm not sure if that is male, female, or otherwise, but Lee Davis saying, are you sort of risk averse? Are you able to look at a business proposal rather than a business plan?
So we will work with our clients, and what I mean by that is we recognize that not everyone has got a formal proposal that's 20 pages long with all the detail. The reality is, if somebody comes to us and says, you know what, I may need some finance against these particular debtors, we'll look at it on those merits. And remember that because of the accounting integration, actually, we're starting from a place of knowledge that is far beyond where a traditional bank would be, where you're applying from a fairly cold basis of, please read this and come back to us. That's not the way we work. We very much, we have a lot of information that we can fall back to and we can ask questions about, but we work with our clients to find ways to help and support them. So we don't necessarily need full bells and whistles. we will work with you to get the information that we feel we need to be able to support any kind of finance opportunity or application. And as I say, it tends not to be onerous. We don't need War and Peace because we've got a lot of information and oversight already. And yes, we may want some forecasts depending on the business and such, but the reality is we want to make this easy and straightforward, as opposed to, again, the traditional almost impenetrable market where actually it's fairly difficult to get finance unless you've got a good solid background behind you. I'm not saying we'll finance everyone, but
obviously not.
I like to think we're a lot more flexible doing so. And the reality is, we are a small business ourselves. We get it. We're not. We work with big players too. We understand big players are difficult to work with sometimes. Siloed nature of businesses don't always have quick decision making. It's difficult to speak to the right people and difficult to get things. We're not like that. We're a small operation, and actually, we understand the challenges of small businesses, but also it means that we're a lot more flexible in terms of what we do, and that's why we'll try and find a way to support, is what it boils down to.
Yeah, I went to a meeting recently, and we got representatives of the big four banks. I think 4 left, aren't there? I think 4 left anyway. And he said, really, the secret is you come to us before you need money. And that doesn't normally work with a business, does it? Because if the money's coming in, you don't think about it really. You get on and you do it. But so, yeah, it's good to think if you've already got a track history with you because of your bookkeeper, and then you need some money, then yeah, it can work around. I think it seems to be a good idea. Now, I've heard some people say it's a great product, so I know some of our members are already using it, so that's great. Very few of our bookkeepers charge what an accountant does for an hour. So can we afford it? I mean, that is the big point, because everybody who comes on here wants £1,000 a month. Well, you keep adding this up, and there's no bread left to eat. So where are you able to give me some sort of insight into costing?
Yeah, look, our practice edition is £50 a month, but the main point of that is, it's a service for that you can use yourself as a bookkeeper, but as I say, it includes an unlimited reseller license, and so that means that you can have as many clients on board for free as you wish, and set up Satago for them. So this isn't just a case of, when I say reseller license, I'm not just saying you can have your own books on there. It means that you can have as many organizations on the Satago platform as you wish, so that you can look after all of your clients. And what you charge your clients for that service, whether it's just for monitoring, whether it's for actively doing the credit control on their behalf, whether it's for providing them for access to credit control, or whether it's providing them access to the invoice finance, whatever the use case may be, you've got that reseller license where basically you can add as many clients as you need to, and get them connected onto the platform. And what you wish to charge for that is entirely up to you. So, we have a lot of bookkeepers who will charge, it may be as part of the overall service offering, they'll charge a monthly fee and include Satago. Some charge a little bit extra for access to the platform. Entirely up to you. But, in most cases, that £50 is quickly recovered through any kind of charges that they wish to pass on to the client base if they wish to go down that route.
So what else do we pay for?
That's it.
Really?
That's it. And as I say, the invoice finance, if you take out invoice finance, and obviously there's charges associated with that, but again, it's pay as you go, and it's designed to be, it's just designed to be easy to work and use with. We do have one upgrade option available for clients, which is an extra £20 a month, but that is completely optional. And what that does is the credit control. We have a feature that allows you to integrate in with an email with an account, an email account. So, for example, if your clients send all their emails from accounts@clientx.com, we can actually integrate directly into accounts@clientx.com. So it's fully integrated and seamless, and that costs us a little bit of money. So we do charge a little bit to recover that, but that's an entirely optional feature, and entirely up to bookkeepers. The core offering, the credit control and the risk monitoring. There's no charge that we will charge our bookkeepers for. Whether the bookkeepers wish to recover those charges from the client base, entirely up to them. But it's a flat £50 per month otherwise.
Right. Perhaps I should have asked that question at the beginning. But anyway, and that doesn't, that sounds, well, I can't call it a bargain because otherwise I should be biased. But no, we are agnostic here, everything. But all right, okay. So where do you see your product moving? I mean, you're not going to give any secrets, but where's this going to go next? What do you see as the next trigger point for Satago 2 or whatever it is?
Look, as I think I alluded to earlier, we do have a really ambitious technical roadmap, and that's again answering those questions of how can we help bookkeepers, how can we help their client base, really get on top of their cash flow position, and in an easy to use fashion. So there's new forecasting tools coming into play, or I should call it more predictive tools, just to, as you mentioned earlier, think cash flow issues can creep up on you. We want to really make sure that we give bookkeepers the minimum to say, okay, I can see you potentially got a cash flow issue in the next 2 to 3 months. Because that's the time frame of which you can start to work with, and giving highlighting where those issues can come into play. So that's an example of one of the areas that we're looking at. But we're also, we're adding a bunch of additional financial services, but also additionally supporting some of the additional credit control functionality that we have. But the key premise, as I say, is all about how do we help manage cash flow in an easy to use fashion. And we'll carry on doing that.
Right. And I mean, I ask everybody that comes on here with an app. Most apps nowadays seem to be bought out by one of the big software companies. I mean, you've been around for 7 years now. I mean, it's almost getting too late to buy you. You'll be too big for them. But I mean, is it something that you're considering? You might consider, or do you think your strength is actually being an independent?
We like supporting everyone, and the reality is, if you're agnostic and can support, as many accounting packages as much as possible, then that's really where our value comes into play for bookkeepers. Because as you said earlier, you've got bookkeepers who have clients who want to use this solution, different clients using other solutions. Satago is great because it's agnostic. It doesn't care. It's able to pull insights from all the accounting packages, and so you've got a standardized view as a bookkeeper. And I think from my personal point of view, I want to keep that and that level of agnostic, support that we can provide for that.
Brilliant. I don't think we've got any questions coming in at the moment, but if I could just, whilst we're just giving them the last chance, and to take a minute of your time, just to interrupt and just say that please, everybody, don't forget on Friday, we've got another Furlough It's Friday. Jackie Matt will be back, hopefully with plenty of information and stuff that's going on at the moment. There's still a lot going on out there, I think. We're still looking at things changing. I don't think she's got any sort of angle on the Russian influence, but apart from that, she's going to give you whatever is happening at the moment. And something I mentioned the other day is our council elections coming up. As from the beginning of next month, we're going to have some forms available for those of you who want to join our council. Our council is very, very important to us. They are a voluntary group of people who assist the Institute to make its decisions. And this year, we have vacancies in the Eastern region, London region. What have I got? I've got one vacancy in Thames Valley, one in the West Midlands, and then the Northwest and Scotland. Now, we've had some interest already from Scotland. Thank you for that. I think we'd also like to try and find an extra person for Wales and Northern Ireland so that we can help Hazel and Vic to do their bit over there. So if anybody is interested, if you think it might be for you or you want some more information, please get in touch. But we will announce the release of the nomination forms coming out either on the 1st of August or thereabouts. I think 3rd or 5th. I think 1st is actually the Saturday, isn't it? Or it could be the Friday. But anyway, we'll be getting those out shortly. So please don't forget that. And we've got some people who've already said they might be interested. That's great. Rob, I mean, we didn't get Sinead, but we got good value for money, I think. You seem to have answered all the questions that we've had so far. Any more, obviously, we will forward on to you. I think the big thing for bookkeepers at the moment is that everybody is beating a path to their door, and if they're careful and they weigh everything up, there's some good stuff out there that they can really start to concentrate on the key pinch points of their business and say, right, well, this is what my clients want. That's what I want. That's what we need. And weigh it up and get it started. I mean, that's the way to do it. Do you do some sort of online free trial or something or other? Can they see how this works, or do they get a demonstration? What's the next move? What do they do next?
Yeah, so we all of the above, I think, is the easiest way of doing it. So happy to provide demos of what the platform looks like. We've got lots of free training to show what that looks like in terms of actual daily use and what the platform can provide. So stuff you can look at in your own time. We've got free trials that we're able to offer to get people onboarded, and we also offer basically support to make sure, one-to-one support to help you get onboarded, show you how to add your clients, show you how to unlock the functionality in the platform, and actually just get up to speed with what Satago can offer. So as I say, we offer essentially a full support package, whether that's through phone, email, or through web chat. You'll have a dedicated account manager who basically walk you through setup for yourself and your clients, and any questions that you may ask. So we can provide all those details for all those support functionality or support offerings that we have. We can certainly provide that.
And we're going to be doing some webinars with Satago anyway over the coming months, are we? I haven't been told that, actually, and Sobi normally prompts me with this before I come on, but Sobi isn't there today, so Alex, it's not Alex's fault. He probably didn't think to ask, but yeah, where we
if we're not, we're certainly more than happy to do more webinars and work through how the system works. Yes.
Website Satago.com.
Satago.com. It is a new website over the last month or so. So it actually looks kind of nice and fresh these days. The old one was looking a little bit longer in the tooth for anyone who's been known Satago for a while. It's just a new shiny website nowadays. And as I say, yeah, Satago.com will give you everything that you should need. But as I say, we do have dedicated support for bookkeepers also.
Great. Well, Rob, thank you very much for standing in at very, very short notice. As I say, it went as well as far as I'm concerned. It's always good to talk to somebody who can keep talking, which is great. We don't like guests to dry up on us, so that's fantastic. I think you've told us what we need to know about the product, but more importantly, where it fits into what our members do. And I think we've seen that this sort of stuff is just so useful to bookkeepers, as they just look at their role differently. They want to expand their role. And I hate this phrase of a trusted advisor, because they've always been trusted advisors, but I see where we're coming from. But yeah, we're the people that our clients should go to. They shouldn't need to go anywhere else to us. They should go to their bookkeeper, and that's good. So thank you very much for that.
I appreciate your time, and as I apologize, Sinead couldn't make it, but I appreciate your time, and it's good opportunity to, as I speak to a client base. And the most, just to you and the bookkeepers, please just reach out if you've got any further questions, and we'll look to support you in terms of what Satago can do for you, and help support your own client base.
Thank you. So everybody, don't forget Friday, and thank you very much for joining us. We will see you soon. Thank you. Bye, everybody.